what guarantees um, the life of states in a turbulent world, which is often cruel? Well, for some people on the left, they think that if you're moral and if you're uh, put up a nice facade to the world, a compliant facade, then history will protect you. In fact, they often quote Martin Luther King, who said that the arc of history bends towards justice. Maybe so, but it is a very brittle arc, and it could break under the pounding of the darkest forces, the totalitarian and dictatorial and ideological forces that are opposed to the very idea of freedom and justice. So, and history doesn't favor morality; it favors strength.
How do you balance some of the tensions between the secular people and the more religious people? As someone that's going to be prime minister for everybody, you've obviously done this a couple of times before, obviously very successfully, but that's one of the sort of fissures in Israeli society.
What you do in any democracy is you compromise. You make compromises. There are things you don't compromise about. On Israel's existence, on security, I don't compromise. And if I have to stand up and go to a joint session of Congress to challenge a person I respected but disagreed with, President Obama, he wanted to pass this, and did actually, this dangerous Iran nuclear deal, which would pave Iran's path with gold to a nuclear arsenal. Well, I thought I had no choice. I have to go and take a stand, and gave a speech there, which I describe in detail. So there are things you don't compromise about. But in political life and democracies, that's what you constantly do. You either come to an agreement with opposing views, and if you don't come to an agreement, you bring it to a vote. And often you come to an agreement by arriving at some kind of balance between opposing views. And that's being done every day. You do it in the American Congress, you do it in the Israeli Knesset.
So as someone that's, you're basically the same age as the country within a couple of years, and you were born in a time when, the country was trying to come together, was obviously not powerful, couple miracles basically to even come into existence as a nation, versus now where there's a military might and an economic power that you're talking about. How different is that for the Israeli psyche? Or even just for you as the leader of the country, knowing what the country was 50 years ago compared to where it's at in 2022?
Well, I described the roots of my views, and it's very much influenced by my father, who was a great historian of the Jewish people. But what he taught me was that there is no finality in the life of nations. Nations have come and nations have gone, and the Jewish people are perhaps unique in the fact that, having lost our country, having lost our state, having been dispersed to the far corners of the earth, we actually came back and reconstituted our national life in our homeland, our tiny homeland, but our homeland. And the fact that we did that was, I would say, the mission of restoring Jewish nationhood and Jewish independence in the land of Israel was the task that informed my grandfather and my father in founding and helping found the state. The task that I inherited was to secure the future, the prosperity, and especially the security and permanence of this state, because it's not guaranteed. Well, what guarantees the life of states in a turbulent world, which is often cruel? Well, for some people on the left, they think that if you're moral and if you're put up a nice facade to the world, a compliant facade, then history will protect you. In fact, they often quote Martin Luther King, who said that the arc of history bends towards justice. Maybe so, but it is a very brittle arc, and it could break under the pounding of the darkest forces, the totalitarian and dictatorial and and ideological forces that are opposed to the very idea of freedom and justice. So, and history doesn't favor morality, it favors strength. That's what it does. That's why Genghis Khan could conquer the world and hold his, and hold on. That empire could hold on for a century. Enormous subjugation. The Romans, whatever you think of them, held it for many, many more centuries through just sheer power, sheer coercion and power. And does it guarantee that our free civilization, does history guarantee that our free civilization would triumph over totalitarian forces? And the answer is categorically not. If they can amass greater economic, military, and political power, especially economic and military power, then they'll overcome you if you don't have enough countervailing force. Israel, being a tiny country, had to be enormously more powerful, given that it was surrounded at first by hundreds of millions of Arabs who wanted to destroy it, and lately by about 100 million Iranians who don't want to destroy it, but are governed by these theological thugs who do, and openly declare death to Israel, and by the way, death to America too, but they're building atomic bombs, or that's what they seek to do, to destroy Israel. So you need to be very, very strong. I devoted my life, as I describe in my book, to empower Israel, not to subjugate others, but to defend itself from others, and to make sure that nobody could destroy the one and only Jewish state once it was reconstituted after thousands of years. The one thing that, and all Israelis understood that. They understood that we have to have a strong army. The first prime minister, David Ben-Gurion, invested an enormous effort to build such an army. But I came to the conclusion that it couldn't be sustained. It couldn't be sustained because F-35 fighter aircraft, submarines, drones, cyber, intelligence, and so on, they have one common quality. They cost money, a lot of money. And if you have a socialist economy, you're not going to be able to pay for defense. Typically, the way Israelis thought about it, well, the government will produce the money. How will they produce the money? Tax the rich. Tax the rich? Well, they're not. First of all, there are not enough rich people in a socialist economy. And secondly, those who are will move to other places when you overtax them. I came with a radical idea, which I describe in my book, that there's a thing called free markets, capitalism. And that's the way we generate both a better life for our people, a higher income, a higher distribution of income compared to what the socialist leaning people were thinking. But also, it gives us the wherewithal to fund our military. And therefore, I initiated a free market revolution in Israel that made Israel into this juggernaut, this free market juggernaut of the innovation nation that can compete with any country in the world, and in fact does. And that changed Israel. It gave it the economic power to have military power, and the combination of the two gave us diplomatic power. And that is what can guarantee our future. Not forever. I don't know of anything that protects you forever, but for the coming decades. And that's what I intend to nurture further in the coming years and my next tenure as Prime Minister.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about international issues instead of nonstop yelling, check out our international playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, check out our full episode playlist. They're all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.